Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to do the top 5 perfumes for spring. 'Tis the year 2025 and I need some positivity. And well, also perfumes in spring have a vibe about them. I'm still, or maybe starting to, or still during winter I wasn't really craving summer. During winter I was craving spring. But now sometimes there are colder spring days, rainy spring days, but then there are also those really, really warm spring days, sometimes humid, sometimes dry. That's when I more or less crave summer as well. So spring is a sort of an amalgamation between a bit of summer is in there, a little bit of winter is still in there as well. Uh, but most importantly, the plant life and also all of the animals, they're just kind of getting into full bloom for the plants. We got the chlorophyll everywhere. Everything is bursting with green, and the animals are just all very, very happy to whoever was in their winter sleep to wake out of their hibernation and get with it. And for the animals that were awake throughout winter, they're just kind of all happy to shed a little bit of that fur that was growing up to keep them warm during the winter and show their little bikini bodies. Not the case for me. I'm going to need a little more time to show my bikini body, but for the animals and the plants, it is a wonderful time of year. Everything is in bloom. Nature is not just in survival mode. Now nature kicks into let's live. Let's live it to the best of our abilities mode. And with it, the perfumes kind of reflect that sense and sensibility. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let's get along with it. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Thumb up the video while you're at it. First perfume magically appears. Okay, now Thierry Mugler's Aura fragrance is my first one for spring of this year. And it is also the last mass-released Mugler fragrance released under his guidance before he passed away. So um, it's kind of symbolic that his last perfume is in the shape of a heart, like a beating heart. Like, let's hope to survive. And I'm sure his legacy is going to live on for many, many decades to come. And for everybody studying fashion who's serious about fashion and also who's serious about perfume and perfumes in the future will, in history books, will read about Thierry Mugler, whether it be from a fashion standpoint or a perfume standpoint, him being one of the first perfumers to introduce on a complete scale, really, all of his perfumes to introduce refillable bottles. So when you purchase his glass bottles, even this one, by the way, Aura is available, last I checked, in 3 sizes, like 30 ml, 50, 90. And the heart evolves according to the size. So the little refractoring aesthetic of the glass green heart is slightly different for the 30 ml. The proportions are different for the 30 ml, 50, and 90. And it has this sort of crown, but also kind of like a collar of an evil queen, perhaps. It's a little bit of an apple green because there's an apple accord in there as well. We'll get to the accord in just a second, but then there's like a futuristic vibe about Aura that struck me, and that desire when I first smelled the perfume, when it first came out years ago. By the way, check out my review of Aura also on my channel. It struck me to the point where I felt some type of way, like Uh, I was catapulted into a world in the future where everything was different. Love and fear were so much more pronounced and visceral, to the point where I fragmented and fractured my review in a way like a perfume is fractured in top notes, heart notes, base notes. There's like 3 chapters to the review, and every chapter plays in a different time, with the last chapter being in the future. And then when you get to the future, it is a dystopian type of future that instigates fear, but there's a message of hope there as well. It's a thin, tiny veneer of hope, but it's there. And so Aura has rhubarb in it, has a mentholated type of apple vibe going for it. It has a minty twist. It has a vanilla accord in there as well. It's very synthetic. That rhubarb vibe about it is very alien in a way, not like Thierry Mugler's alien perfume, but rather it smells of a perfume from another planet and another time, to the point where in my review, I in fact talk about it as if it were a perfume that somehow managed to travel through time and make its way to our time. And as it arrives in our time, it tries to give us a message about the future. So it is a very fascinating fragrance. It comes from the future, delivered to the past being our present, and it transcends that mere notion that we have of a lot of Thierry Mugler fragrances being strong and characteristic, like you wear amen or angel or alien to the club, and it's very extroverted and very outgoing if you wear Thierry Mugler fragrances. But Aura is different. Aura doesn't really have that lightheartedness that the other fragrances have. Yes, they are powerful, but they are not so self-aware to the point of Aura. Aura is, because of that element of smelling of time travel, it is very self-aware. It knows exactly where it's going. It knows exactly why it's traveling back in time and what is the message it wants to deliver. It is a very, very, very alert and self-conscious fragrance. Self-conscious, not in insecure way, but in a rather secure way. So, and it's a smell I don't crave often, but I do crave it from time to time when I am feeling a little lost and out of focus. Like I'm kind of missing the point of, just, it's kind of like when I'm missing that straight view towards my target. Like, where am I going? And sometimes Aura helps me put that into perspective. Much needed in these times, I believe. If I do find a shopping link to Aura, it's getting harder and harder to find because it's not a bestseller. It's not a perfume that is easy to just love. People either love it or hate it. It's very rare that somebody starts off not loving this, but then slowly developing an appreciation, respect, and love for it. I'm one of the people that developed that appreciation through time, but it's quite rare because this one is very polarizing. But if I do find a shopping link through YouTube for it, I will be posting it down below. So be sure to check that out. And to help the channel out, if you do purchase it through that link, it's like an affiliate link. So, thumb up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next perfume, my number 2 would be Chanel number 19. What a wonderful fragrance for spring. And I know that there are a few missing here, concentrations or flankers. There is also the number 19 Poudre, delivered by Jacques Polge, still in production today. It's an eau de parfum, but we're going to go for the 2 originals that are still in production, the eau de parfum, also Jacques Polge from the 90s, and the OG number 19 eau de toilette from Henri Robert from the 70s. Now, there used to also be a number 19 Extrait, the 15 milliliter splash bottle, which Chanel used to manufacture up until a year or a year and a half ago. And unfortunately, they've discontinued it. Now, this is a relic of the past at this point. I managed to hunt down one more bottle. And this is the youngest, the youngest batch code produced that I could hunt down, 7801. Batch code is right there. So it's like, well, that's it. After 7801, maybe there was still a few bottles manufactured in the 8 batch code territory. 9, I haven't. 8, I have seen other Les Exclusives extraits from Chanel. In the 8 territory, but 9, I haven't seen any, and they've all been discontinued. So number 5 is still in production as an extrait, and Coco Mademoiselle is still in production as an extrait in those either 7.5 mil or 15 mil splash bottles. The sprays have also been discontinued. Oh man, it is really, really sad. I do hope that Chanel brings these back, but as of now, Chanel number 19 Parfum is no longer in production. So I am going to treasure this one. If I manage to find another bottle, I will be opening one to use, but one I need for my archives just to be able to reference it, to talk about it, to analyze it on my channel, because this is a piece of history now. It's no longer in production, so everything is archivable, from the type of plastic they use to wrap, the shrink wrap, or the plastic they use to wrap the box, what sort of cardboard they used in paper for the actual box, the print on the side, the batch number at the bottom, the badrouchage inside. Like this now, since it's no longer in production, this is now automatically under protection, at least for me in my perfume archives. When Chanel discontinues a product and I manage to get one sealed, then that one goes into my archives. I do have vintage 70s Chanel number 19 bottles of extrait as well as sprays that I use. But this was just to tell you guys that unfortunately the Parfum has been discontinued. But if you do have the extrait and if you manage to find a bottle, you're lucky. You're very lucky, and enjoy it, because all of the concentrations of number 19 are really doing it for me this year, this spring. I'm just feeling amazing wearing it. Maybe because this one, like never before, does it give me the impression of being of giving me the energy to detach myself from all the happenings, the political happenings in the world, and all the complications that we're going through. By this, I mean Chanel number 19 has an aura of a very sophisticated Parisian chic, an aura of I'm autonomous. I am self-sustained. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I'm very, very content in my own place with who I am. And Henri Robert, with the first iteration of number 19 being the extrait as well as the eau de toilette, delivered a very dry chypre with oak moss and a particular galbanum that was sourced from Iran. And when it was still allowed to be sourced from there, Chanel doesn't source it from there anymore. So obviously also the quality of the perfume has changed throughout the decades. But that galbanum or galbanum, depending which part of the world you're in, it's pronounced differently, is the trademark of Chanel number 19, together with the aldehydes that open up that mysterious, soapy, clean, detached, hyper clean and sharp type of, you can't even reach this level of cleanliness and awareness type of smell. That is typical for Chanel number 19, which gives it that aloofness of being like, um, don't talk to me, don't come too close to me. It's that reassuring, and it is that detached from the world, and it lives in its own bubble. And within that own bubble, it's not delusional. It knows exactly what's going on, but it decides to live its life. It decides not to be scared. It decides not to allow anything or anybody to compromise or mess with your own stability, with your own mental, emotional, and physical stability. Number 19 really, really helps me in that regard. It is just wonderful. Now, when it comes to the different concentrations, what we have here is Henri Robert's first version, which is the eau de toilette, which I slightly prefer to the eau de parfum, but just because I like that cold heart that in the surface number 19 appears to have. The eau de parfum so the eau de toilette came in the 70s, the eau de parfum came in the 90s when Jacques Polge, and he did this also for Cristal eau de parfum in the 90s, because the eau de parfum of number 19 and the eau de parfum of Cristal did not exist prior to the 90s. It is a new revisitation of number 19 and Cristal for the 90s, made a little bit friendlier, softer, mellower. Matter of fact, you can't. I would have to go and check on my boxes. Not so sure, but I think there is no oak moss listed for the EDP. On the box of the EDT, yes, there is there is oak moss listed, maybe even tree moss. But I know for sure that Cristal EDT, which is also Henri Robert, still has the oak moss listed on the back of the package. I think even tree moss, both of them. But the eau de parfum does not. So I would have to double check on number 19. I do believe it still has the oak moss listed, but it is a softer, slightly sweeter, even though number 19 is as green as a Chanel green can get. There's technically nothing sweet about it, but if we compare the two, the eau de parfum is a little bit sweeter. It has that notion of approachability, being a little bit more approachable. So when you're wearing the EDP, you are friendlier. When you wear the EDT, this is sophistication. This is shoulder pads, coiffed for the gods. The hair is on fleek. The suit, the jacket, the tie, everything. And by the way, perfume knows no gender. In my book, and especially number 19, it is such a universal, in my humble opinion, completely neutral fragrance when it comes to gender. So anybody can wear it as long as you like the way it smells on you and to your nose. But the EDT is, oh man, it gives you an armor, like a defense armor when you go out and about in public. Wonderful. The EDP, if you're used to very sweet and light perfumes, whatever, then no, you're going to think that this is also giving you an armor. But for a person like me who's very used to Chanel fragrances, this is the one that gives me the full ultimate Targaryen vibe, while, if you're into Game of Thrones, while the EDP is a little bit more friendly, just a smidge, you know. And I think this was done in the 90s to also revitalize and bring some more interest back into, inject some more youthful clientele in the 90s for these Chanel fragrances, right? Because every 10 to 20 years, they tend to revamp them, freshen them up a little bit for the next generations coming up. So the 70s generation is one thing, but then the 90s generation, this one was revisited for the 90s generation. And then for the 2000s generation, as Poudre, number 19 Poudre, which is not listed here because that's a little bit even too friendly for my taste for the times we're going through right now. So for my top 5 spring fragrances, it is the EDT first and then the EDP. But if you can find the Extrait, this one is like number one. And let me just check. Oak moss is listed on the Extrait. Yeah. Evernia prunastri is there, the oak moss extract. You can see it in the ingredients midway through. There it is, Evernia prunastri oak moss extract. So let me just, you can kind of screen grab it. You know, this is really important for future references in case you are wondering, did the Extrait of Chanel number 19 actually have oak moss in it in its later years, the last batches ever produced, unless they don't decide to bring it back in production? Did it have oak moss? Yes, it did, albeit in very small quantities regulated by the IFRA, but it's still there. If I do find a shopping link to any of these, of course, I'll be posting it down below. I'm looking at it as alcohol, parfum. You know what is really gorgeous about this particular extrait of Chanel? Most of their other extraits have water listed in the ingredients, not number 19. I mean, this thing is on another level. Usually water is like listed after the alcohol. It's either second or third on the list. before or after the parfum. But the ingredients of number 19 are alcohol, parfum, and then hydroxycitronellal, citronellol, hexyl, blah, 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 blah. There's no water listed at all. What a masterpiece. Okay. Thumb up the video, you guys, and let's go to number 3. Number 3 is one of my favorites for spring, and many times, and I do repeat these videos once a year. Whenever a new season starts, I redo a video listing my favorites for that specific year. Comme des Garçons Jassalmer from the Series 3 Incense perfume collection. They released these late 90s, early 2000s. There still are 5. They are in production, but Jassalmer in particular hits the spot for me around about April. May is when this one is just at its peak. Oh man. The youthfulness, the joy. And so the idea that Comme des Garçons had was to deliver incense from different religious cardinal points of the world into the series. So from every major religion in existence, a certain incense smells would be taken to create a perfume. Then that perfume would be named as one of the capital cities of said religion. So we have Zagorsk, we have Kyoto, we have Avignon, we have Jassalmer, and the other one is Orzazate. Orzazate, really hard to pronounce that one. So I know that we have the Christian one with Avignon, and then we have the Orthodox Church with Zagorsk. Jassalmer, I think, is Hinduism, if I'm not wrong. And then we have Shintoism with Kyoto in Japan. And Orzazate defeats me at the moment. But the idea is that we have spiciness in here, but it's also sweet, but it's breezy, it's airy, it's friendly, so hopeful. It is very spiritual. Now, Comme des Garçons is also known for experimenting a lot with synthetics and conceptualizing fragrances very much so, to the point of releasing one of the first perfumes being called simply anonymously Comme des Garçons, which all the fans of that perfume have renamed Tape because it smells of tape, office supplies, cardboard, like plastic computer shells from the 80s and 90s, that type of vibe. It's in a bottle that has been crumpled up so it can't stand up, it always falls to the side. Highly conceptual perfume, very synthetic, done that way on purpose. But then Comme des Garçons also has one perfume that's called Garage, like smelling like garage or tar. So this is not what you would expect from your typical incense fragrance. It is very recognizably an incense, but it has a twist. It has a playfulness. It's fashion. It is a fashionable version of an incense. And Jassalmer adds some really fun twists to this incense because it's sweet. It is dry, but it is also sweet at the same time, flowery, kind of spicy, but it's a spice that doesn't bite, but it rather opens up the appetite, makes you also feel flirtatious and puts you in a loving mood, in a flirtatious mood, in a sexy mood. But sexy, not the type of sexy that most perfumes would advertise for, like Hypnotic Poison or Addict by Dior. You know, those they were very popular when they first came out for their very, very, very sexy ad campaigns. This is a different type of sexy. This is more like, oh, you're feeling like the bees in your belly, you're a little bit horny in a way. But playful, always playful, not taking yourself too seriously. It lightens the mood. Actually, the entire series of the incense fragrances by Comme des Garçons lightened the mood. But of all 5, this is the one for spring, in my opinion. The other ones are for other seasons. Some are for the snow, some are for autumn, or summer. But Jassalmer is that promise of spring. It's the promise of life re-emerging, re-blooming, re-blossoming. It's it's hope for the future. It smells the way that I want the future to be. Sunny, happy, safe for everybody. Wonderful fragrance. So Jaisalmer is a frankincense-based incense with all the synthetics that go around it. It pops like bubblegum in a way as well. It has aldehydes going for it too. Very, very beautiful conceptual incense. So that would be my number 3. And thumb up the video while you're at it. If I do find the link to this one, a shopping link, I'll also post it down below. So be sure to check it out. It only exists as a 50 ml eau de toilette. They also do have, I don't know if they still produce them, but they used to produce, Comme des Garçons used to produce incense sticks from their incense series as well. But I'm not so sure if they're still in production. If I do find the shopping link to those as well, I'll post it down below. Thumb up the video, subscribe, and let's get to number 4. Of course, après l'onde, après l'onde. So after the shower by Guerlain, or after a rainstorm, after, dopo l'ondata di pioggia. And I melt. Oh man, that almondy vibe in here with the violet accord and the Guerlinade dry down with a very, very, very delicate, soft vanilla at the base. It's just beautiful. It opens up with that fennel aldehydic note that Guerlain is known for lately, which a lot of people have a problem with, but I can kind of like, it dissipates after a while and it goes into other territories after a while. And Après l'onde is really a masterpiece that I have reviewed very much in depth on my channel. So be sure to check this one out from a historical context as well, because this one was released in the early 1900s. So there's a lot to say about this one and the context in which it was manufactured, why the specific smell, what does it relate to, and what sort of memories it triggers, even though technically we haven't lived that far in the past, but it smells of the past. And because it smells of the past, a past that our ancestors and we have survived somehow, because here we are, living proof that we can overcome difficult times and survive trouble and turmoil. This perfume smells a little bit of that. And not just of a beautiful landscape, garden, and nature after the rain or after a shower, a rain shower or a storm or a thunderstorm. It not only smells of that, not only the name of the perfume is meant to be that way, because in a way this perfume mimics that sort of emotional state of being after a rain storm or after just regular rain has fallen. But it also delivers a poetic mood that many of us are in spring, when the weather, especially in April, April showers. You remember the song from Walt Disney's Bambi from the 40s? Uh, April showers, that song, that's the vibe. Those are the colors. Those are the painted backgrounds that I feel when I smell this perfume. And it makes you feel nostalgic in a way, melancholic in a way, and that melancholy is very, I want to say, self-reflective, sad in a way, but also hopeful. It is a very specific state of being and a very specific state of mind. I do believe that German philosophers used often the term Sehnsucht to describe that state of mind. So look it up if you want to know more about that. And that's exactly what Après l'onde delivers, that particular emotion of longing for something that is not really there, but it's in your mind. It exists in your mind, but it hasn't materialized yet. You're longing for it. And that's what this perfume puts into context. It crystallizes that notion into fragrance form. Very, very beautiful. But also check out my review of it. And if I do find a shopping link to this one, I shall be posting it in my YouTube shopping links as well. I hope Guerlain does not discontinue it. Thumb up the video, you guys, and let's head on to our number 5. I just had to choose this perfume as my 5th. This is hope in a bottle, sunshine in a bottle. Giorgio Beverly Hills from the 80s and still in production. It went through many different ownerships. I think Elizabeth Arden is currently, I think it's Elizabeth Arden or Estee Lauder. One of the two owns Giorgio and manufactures it. It changes also countries where it's manufactured. I've seen bottles made in the USA. That's the original version of it, then made in France, made in the Netherlands, made in the UK, made in Spain. Currently, most of them, if not all of them, are made in Spain. Not a big fan of that version, a little bit watered down. I do prefer the Made in France version, the predecessor to the Made in Spain version of Giorgio. But if you can find a UK or US version with the old font, even better. But it's very musk heavy, so it's turned like brown. The liquid, the juice is turned brown throughout the decades. It's over 40 years old. And this is just a white floral made in heaven. It is a beautiful white floral gardenia-based fragrance that also has an ylang-ylang twist in it. It has that buttery vibe going for it. Juicy, effervescent, joie de vivre. It is very, very much a joyful, joyful perfume. One of my mother's favorites. Actually, it's my mom's favorite perfume. She always goes back to Giorgio. Like, no matter whatever else she tries, she also loves her Chanel's and all other perfumes that she loves to wear. But Giorgio is just that perfume. For me, it smells of mom, so that is pure hope for me and pure love. And it's also sunshine in a bottle. It is very, very joyous. It is very reassuring. It is very comforting and very hopeful, very positive, very optimistic. I mean, this perfume literally represents that perhaps a little bit naive way that humanity entered into the 80s. And when we talk about the 80s, Giorgio was released in the first half of the 80s. So there's a whole decade ahead of this perfume to enjoy it. Shoulder pads, white Cadillacs, all dressed in white with a foulard waving behind you as you're driving off in the sunset with your white sunglasses. I mean, everything is 80s. Everything is opulent, pompous, big. It's just fabulous, Troop Beverly Hills. Envision that movie with Shelley Long and you have your Giorgio vibes. Giorgio really smells of the 80s in the best of ways. The 80s were in many ways not the best decade. There were also, of course, a lot of insecurities and uncertainties in the 80s. But stylistically speaking, I mean, there was an outburst of hope and joy and creativity in the 80s like we haven't experienced since. So it is always beautiful to go back in time and revisit fashion from the time, music from the time, the perfumery world from that decade. It just brings hope to mind because everything was not afraid to have identity. Perfumes were not afraid to have personality, to have character. Perfumes were not afraid to glow, to shine, to be effervescent. And, myth wants it that Giorgio was banned in certain restaurants and hotels because it was so intense and strong when it was first released with that extreme civet and musk base. Like some people were saying, if they smell you, as you're arriving to a restaurant and they smell Giorgio on you, they say, sorry, you cannot come in. It's just too much. Too many people are wearing it. Like people cannot eat in peace because they're all being suffocated. But you can imagine. So obviously the current version is much more watered down, but you know what? I'll take it even if it's watered down. I'd rather take it watered down than not have it at all. And this, more than any other fragrance at the moment, really, really gives me a sense of hope in the very dark times we're living in at the moment. This perfume gives me hope. I know we've come to the point where we gotta cling on to whatever we can to find hope wherever we can, to find solace and consolation wherever we can. And sometimes it's a cookie, sometimes it's a chocolate bar, sometimes it's a chicken McNugget, and sometimes, just sometimes, it's a perfume. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your favorites for the month of March. Thumb up this video if you liked it. If I find a shopping link to Giorgio, of course I'll post it. This one is cheapy nowadays, by the way. You can find it if you're lucky for like $10 to $30 a bottle. It goes for 30 ml, 90 ml. There's probably also a 50 ml bottle out there. Love you loads, guys. Never give up on love. Bye.